Jax Marlowe wiped his hands on a rag that had seen better days. The garage smelled of burned metal and oil, a scent he had long grown used to. The hum of machinery filled the air as he crouched over a damaged engine core, trying to coax it back to life. Outside, the vastness of space stretched endlessly, the stars glittering like scattered jewels. Most people would call this part of the station lonely. But Jax had learned to find comfort in the silence. It was his home, and these machines were his companions. He straightened, rubbing the ache from his shoulders, and glanced toward the outer bay. Something flickered in the shadows. Something that didn't belong. He frowned. Most ships had long docked or left, and the bay was empty. The hum of the station continued, steady and reassuring. But that flicker felt alive. Jax rose cautiously, wiping grease from his hands and gripping a wrench. He stepped outside, his boots clanking against the metal floor. The stars beyond the station shimmered, but his attention remained on the shadows. Then he saw it. A dragon-like creature, hovering just beyond the docking bay. Its scales shimmered in colors he had never seen, metallic and alive, reflecting the faint lights of the station. Its wings moved with deliberate grace, folding and unfolding, as if it were adjusting to an unseen current. The creature's eyes met his, and Jax froze. They weren't the eyes of a mindless animal. They were intelligent, aware, and almost human in their expression. The dragon cocked its head slightly and, in a soft, almost musical voice, asked, "May I have leftovers, sir?" Jax blinked. He had fixed machines that spoke, computers that simulated emotions, even robots that mimicked human behavior. But never had he met a creature like this. His mind raced. Was it an alien? A biological experiment? Or something far stranger? Yet, in those eyes, there was no threat, only hunger and a quiet plea. He hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I guess I can spare some," he said, turning toward the small storage crates. He rummaged through scraps of preserved food, packets of synthetic meat, and other odds and ends he kept for emergencies. With a careful hand, he placed some pieces on a metallic tray and stepped toward the dragon. The creature sniffed cautiously, then lowered its head and began to eat. Jax watched, fascinated. Its movements were precise, deliberate, as if it understood etiquette. When it finished, it lifted its head, and the glow in its eyes deepened, almost as if it were thanking him. A faint pulse of light ran across its scales, tracing intricate patterns that reminded him of circuits on a motherboard. Jax felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had grown used to being underestimated. Humans in this part of the galaxy were considered fragile, slow, and replaceable. But here, in the presence of this magnificent creature, he felt useful, important, and perhaps, just perhaps, this encounter was the start of something far beyond repair work and engine cores. Over the next few days, the dragon whom he had named Kale remained near the station. Jax learned that it was cautious but curious, exploring the mechanics of the station with intelligent gestures and subtle movements. Kale's presence attracted attention. Some of the station crew were frightened, while others were fascinated. Still, no one could deny the bond forming between the human and the dragon. Kale had been badly injured, its scales scratched and some internal mechanisms damaged. It had clearly survived some ordeal, and Jax felt a surge of determination. He had repaired countless ships, machines, and even androids. But a living creature, blending flesh and technology, was a challenge unlike any other. He worked carefully, studying the dragon's anatomy and the strange enhancements hidden beneath its scales. Every repair required precision, patience, and courage. At first, Kale flinched under the tools, but soon it learned to trust him. The dragon would tilt its massive head or extend a wing, subtly signaling which part needed attention. In return, Jax would speak softly, explaining each step, as if the creature could understand every word. As the days passed, Kale's body began to heal. The cybernetic components hummed softly under Jax's touch, integrating with human-made enhancements. But there was more than just physical repair. The dragon seemed to respond to his moods. When Jax felt hope, Kale's glow brightened. When he felt fear, Kale stiffened, alert and protective. This bond was unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was almost as if their minds had started to resonate with one another. One evening, after a particularly long day of repairs, Jax sat on a crate and watched Kale hover nearby. The dragon's wings cast dancing shadows across the walls, and its eyes reflected the faint lights of the station. Jax felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. He had no idea where Kale had come from or what powers it might hold. But he knew one thing. This creature was special, and the galaxy would never see it the same way he did. Kale made a soft, melodic sound, almost like a purr. Jax reached out and placed a hand gently on one of its scales. The warmth that radiated from the dragon was astonishing. It pulsed with life, energy, and something unexplainable. Machines around the station began to hum more efficiently, minor malfunctions self-correcting as if Kale's presence accelerated their repair. The bond grew stronger with each passing day. Jax started to feel a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced since leaving Earth. Here, on the edge of an uncharted nebula, he was not just a mechanic. He was a guardian, a friend, and perhaps the reason this extraordinary creature survived. But the galaxy was not kind to those who showed kindness. Rumors spread through the station about the dragon, whispers of its origin and the dangers it might bring. Some feared it. Others coveted it. Jax ignored them for now, focusing on the small victories. Kale, standing fully on its legs, wings stretching without pain, and the faint glow of life and energy that now pulsed steadily through the station. One night, while Jax was repairing an old navigation console, Kale nudged a small tool toward him, dropping it with gentle precision. Jax laughed softly. "You're learning fast, aren't you?" he said. Kale made a sound that could have been a chuckle, the vibration resonating through the floor and into Jax's bones. It was a moment of pure connection, a shared understanding that went beyond words. Then, without warning, a flicker of light appeared on the station's sensors. Jax's heart skipped a beat. He hurried to the main console and activated the display. A small scout ship, unlike any design he had ever seen, was approaching. Its hull glimmered with strange energy, and its trajectory suggested a direct approach toward Kale. Jax felt a surge of protectiveness. He didn't know what these visitors wanted, but he knew one thing. Kale had already trusted him, and he would not let anything harm it. He glanced at the dragon, whose eyes now mirrored his own determination. The connection between them pulsed like an electric current, a silent promise that they would face whatever came together. The scout ship hovered just beyond the bay, scanning, analyzing. Then a voice crackled through the station's comm system, metallic and cold. "Surrender the creature. It belongs to us." Jax clenched his fists. "I don't think so," he muttered under his breath. Kale's scales flared with a sudden brilliance, a warning signal, and the dragon stepped closer to him, wings fully extended. The station seemed to hum in response, energy shifting as if aware of the looming danger. The first confrontation had begun. But in that moment, as Jax looked into Kale's eyes, he realized something profound. This dragon, this alien hybrid, was not just a creature in need of help. It was a partner, a symbol of what humans could achieve when courage, compassion, and intelligence were combined. And as the stars twinkled beyond the bay, Jax Marlowe made a silent vow. No matter the odds, no matter the threats lurking in the vastness of space, he would protect Kale. He would show the galaxy that humans, even in the smallest station on the edge of nowhere, could perform miracles. Kale tilted its head, studying him, and a low, melodic hum vibrated through the air. Jax smiled. "Let's get through this. Together," he said, and for the first time in a long time, he believed in something bigger than himself. The night stretched on, silent except for the soft hum of machines and the occasional flutter of Kale's wings. Somewhere out there, enemies might be approaching. But for now, in this quiet corner of the universe, a miracle had begun born from leftover scraps. mechanical skill, and an unspoken bond that neither time nor distance could break. And in the heart of a human mechanic and a dragon who once asked for leftovers, the galaxy would soon witness the impossible. Days passed in a rhythm that felt both calm and electric. Jax Marlowe had fallen into a routine, though nothing about his situation was ordinary. KL, the dragon who had asked for leftovers, had grown stronger with each passing day, and their connection deepened beyond anything Jax had imagined possible. The station was alive with the subtle hum of energy that seemed to flow from Kale's presence. Machines repaired themselves faster, lights glimmered more steadily, and even the hydroponics bay flourished, leaves reaching upward, as if drawn by Kale's unseen influence. Jax had begun to notice strange phenomena. When he worked on delicate machinery, sometimes a faint pulse of energy from Kale seemed to anticipate his needs. A misplaced tool would roll into his hand, as if guided by an invisible force. Once, a broken circuit that should have taken hours to repair had reconnected itself with no effort on his part. Jax rubbed his eyes, convinced he was imagining things. Yet Kale watched him, tilting its head, almost as if aware of his thoughts, and a warm glow ran along its scales. "All right, Kale," Jax murmured one evening as he examined a partially disassembled drone. "I think we need to figure out what you really are. You're not just a dragon. There's something more. Something powerful." Kale's eyes flickered in response. Almost as if acknowledging the question, it hovered closer. And Jax noticed the faint circuitry beneath its scales, shifting in intricate patterns, glowing softly with pulses of light. The dragon had survived some kind of trauma, and Jax was certain that it held knowledge and abilities far beyond what any human had seen. He decided to start small. Using a portable diagnostic scanner, he examined Kale's systems and anatomy, careful not to startle it. The results left him both awestruck and anxious. Kale's body was an extraordinary hybrid of organic tissue and advanced alien technology. Its heart pumped not just blood, but a faint, glowing energy that seemed capable of sustaining life and repairing damage in surrounding systems. The wings, though biological in structure, contained a network of metallic fibers, allowing them to store and release energy in bursts of flight or defense. "Whoa," Jax whispered. He had repaired ships that could survive crashes, but this was alive, and alive in a way that defied his understanding. He felt a surge of responsibility. If anyone else discovered Kale, they would see it as a weapon or an experiment to exploit. But he couldn't let that happen. Not after the trust Kale had given him. Over the next week, Jax worked tirelessly, integrating simple human repairs with Kale's alien enhancements. Every time he fixed a broken joint or repaired a damaged sensor, Kale responded not just by healing faster, but by producing a subtle aura that affected everything nearby. Broken tools aligned themselves neatly on the bench, lights stabilized, and even the station's computers ran smoother. Jax marveled at it. The dragon wasn't just healing itself. It was improving the environment, making life easier for everyone. One day, while Jax was adjusting Kale's wing mechanisms, the dragon's eyes suddenly brightened with intensity. A low hum filled the bay, vibrating through the metal floor. Jax paused, hands frozen mid-adjustment, as he felt the energy wash over him. The hum wasn't loud, but it resonated deep inside, like a song vibrating in bone and mind. "What is it?" Jax asked cautiously. Kale stepped back, spreading its wings fully. The glow along its body intensified. And then, to Jax's astonishment, a small section of the station wall flickered and repaired itself. Loose panels shifted back into place, wires reconnected, and the lights stabilized. Jax's jaw dropped. "You're fixing the station," he breathed. "You're healing more than yourself." Kale let out a soft, melodic sound. Its eyes met his, warm and knowing. Jax reached out and touched one of the dragon's glowing scales. The warmth that pulsed through him was electric, yet comforting. He realized in that instant that Kale was responding to his emotions. If he felt hope, the energy strengthened. If he felt fear, the dragon stiffened, ready to defend. Their bond was deeper than trust, it was something almost symbiotic. The station crew began to notice the miracles. Minor malfunctions that used to take hours to fix now corrected themselves spontaneously. Lights that flickered in distant corridors glowed steadily. Even the hydroponic plants seemed to grow faster, leaves stretching toward the faint glow of Kale's aura. Rumors began to circulate. A miracle had come to the station. A creature unlike any other that could heal machines and perhaps more. But not everyone was impressed. Some of the crew were wary, whispering about the potential dangers. "It's a dragon," one engineer muttered. "Something like that doesn't belong here. It could destroy us all if it wanted." Jax ignored them, though he understood their fear. Most humans had never seen anything like Kale, and fear often disguised itself as skepticism. One evening, Jax decided it was time to learn more about Kale's origins. He approached the dragon carefully, his heart racing with curiosity and caution. "Kale, where did you come from?" he asked. The dragon tilted its head, and then, for the first time, words came, low and melodic. "I was captured. My kind, experimented upon. We were made into weapons." Jax felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "Weapons?" he echoed. "What do you mean?" Kale's wings drooped slightly. "The Vreth. They took my people, modified our bodies, stripped us of choice, made us into soldiers for their wars." The words were simple, but the weight behind them was immense. Jax felt a surge of anger and determination. Humans often faced overwhelming odds, yet they fought, survived, and thrived. He couldn't imagine a world where beings like Kale were enslaved without hope. "You're safe here," he said firmly. "I won't let them take you. We'll find a way to protect you. I promise." Kale's eyes shimmered, and a soft hum vibrated through the bay. It was a sound of trust, a connection that said, "I believe you." Over the next several days, Jax focused not just on repairs, but on strengthening Kale. He designed protective mechanisms for the station, small enhancements that could stabilize energy surges and prevent accidental damage. Kale responded to each adjustment with subtle displays of power, occasionally releasing a burst of energy that repaired minor issues instantly. Jax was amazed. No human technology could match the effects of this creature's presence. Yet, it wasn't all miracles. Kale's past trauma sometimes surfaced in small ways. Loud noises or sudden movements would cause a flare of defensive energy, shaking parts of the station. Jax learned to calm the dragon with gentle words and steady gestures, often sitting beside it in quiet meditation until the pulses of energy subsided. It was a learning process for both of them, one that strengthened their bond in ways words could not describe. One night, while Jax was reviewing schematics for a new energy shield, Kale nudged a small component toward him. Its claws were careful, precise, almost like hands. "You're learning, aren't you?" Jax asked with a grin. Kale emitted a soft sound, almost a chuckle, the vibrations filling the bay. Jax laughed aloud, feeling lighter than he had in months. The station had become more than a place to work. It was a sanctuary. Kale, once a creature of pain and captivity, was thriving. And Jax, once a mechanic in a lonely corner of the galaxy, had found purpose in ways he had never expected. They depended on each other, not out of necessity alone, but out of mutual respect and trust. Yet the universe beyond the station remained dangerous. The Vreth, the aliens responsible for Kale's suffering, were still out there. Jax knew they would not stop easily, but in these quiet days, with the dragon hovering nearby, and the station alive with hums of energy and light, he allowed himself a moment of hope. Kale's scales glowed softly as it rested on the floor beside him, wings folded but twitching occasionally with anticipation. Jax reached out, touching a scale that pulsed warmly under his fingers. "We'll get through whatever comes next," he whispered. Together, the dragon hummed, and the sound resonated through Jax, filling him with a sense of possibility. He had faced impossible odds before, repairing ships that no one else could, surviving crises that seemed doomed from the start. But this bond with Kale was something beyond anything he had known. It was a reminder that humanity, even when small and underestimated, could create miracles through courage, ingenuity, and compassion. Outside, the stars continued their silent dance. Somewhere, beyond the nebula and the void, dangers lurked. But inside the station, in this quiet corner of the galaxy, a human and a dragon had formed a partnership that could defy the impossible. And as Jax gazed into Kale's eyes, he understood the truth. Miracles were not random. They were earned through trust, courage, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. And so, as the station settled into the calm of night, Kale hovered above the bay, wings casting shadows that shimmered like liquid metal, while Jax continued his work, heart steady, mind sharp, and spirit ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. The bond they had forged was not just survival. It was the beginning of a story that would echo across the stars. A story of hope, ingenuity, and the extraordinary potential of humans when they refused to give up. The warning lights flared across the station just as the first flickers of dawn reached the distant nebula. Jax Marlowe had grown accustomed to sudden alerts, but this one was different. The sensors were picking up multiple high-speed signatures approaching from beyond the outer perimeter. He felt a cold knot of tension form in his stomach. The Vreth had found them. Kale stirred beside him, wings twitching in anticipation. The dragon's glow intensified, bathing the bay in soft, warm light that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of its heartbeat. Jax reached out and touched a scale. The warmth was steady and reassuring, but the energy that radiated from Kale was stronger than ever before. "They're coming for you," Jax said quietly, speaking as much to himself as to Kale. "We won't let them take you." Kale made a low, melodic sound, almost like a growl, but it carried intelligence and understanding. Jax nodded, taking a deep breath. He knew he couldn't face the Vreth alone. He would have to rely on his ingenuity, his experience as a mechanic, and the incredible bond he shared with Kale. The station's crew scrambled to their posts, fear evident in their movements. Jax ignored the panic and moved to the central control panel. Quickly analyzing the incoming ships, the readings were unlike anything he had seen before. Adaptive shields, energy weapons capable of piercing the station's hull, and maneuvering thrusters that made them almost impossible to predict. The Vreth were not just after Kale, they wanted to take the station itself as leverage. Jax's mind raced. He had a few hours at most to prepare, and every second counted. He began rerouting energy through the station's old defense systems, a network of turrets and drones that had been offline for years. Each adjustment required precision, improvisation, and creativity. He added improvised sensors, hacked power relays, and even rigged a few automated drones with makeshift weapons. Every modification was risky, but he had no choice. Kale hovered nearby, observing him with glowing eyes. Its wings beat slowly, sending soft gusts of air across the bay. Jax felt a surge of confidence. The dragon was ready, and together, they could face what was coming. The first scout ship appeared, glinting in the light of distant stars. It moved with precision, scanning the station with cold intent. Jax activated the station's defenses, and energy turrets powered up with a low hum. The drones whirred to life, circling the bay, and ready to intercept. Kale stepped forward, wings spread wide, and released a pulse of energy that rippled outward. The force pushed back the scout ship slightly, disrupting its sensors. Jax grinned, heart pounding. "That's it, Kale. Keep them off balance." The Vreth didn't hesitate. More ships arrived, forming a tight formation, their energy weapons glinting ominously. The battle had begun. Jax coordinated the station's defenses, while Kale engaged the ships directly. The dragon's metallic wings sliced through the void, claws glowing with plasma energy. Each strike was precise, disabling enemy drones without harming the station. Kale's presence alone seemed to disrupt the Vreth technology, as if the alien systems could not adapt to a living hybrid of flesh and machine. The crew watched in awe as the impossible unfolded. Jax's improvised turrets fired with accuracy he had never achieved before. Guided by Kale's energy pulses, the dragon's aura seemed to enhance the human machinery, amplifying every calculation, every shot. What should have been a desperate fight turned into a symphony of cooperation between human ingenuity and alien brilliance. But the Vreth were relentless. They adapted quickly, their ships altering patterns to avoid Kale's attacks. One of the enemy vessels fired a concentrated energy beam directly at the bay. Jax dove to the console, heart racing. He rerouted power to the shielding system, but it wasn't enough. The beam struck the outer hull, sending a shockwave through the station. Kale roared, wings spreading wide as it released a counterpulse that absorbed and deflected the energy, saving the station from catastrophic damage. Jax's mind worked frantically. He realized brute force alone would not win this battle. The Vreth could adapt, and their numbers were growing. He needed a strategy that combined his mechanical skills with Kale's unique abilities. "Kale," he shouted over the din of the battle, "we need to work together. Follow my lead." The dragon's eyes met his, and a low hum resonated through the bay. Jax quickly outlined his plan, guiding Kale to release bursts of energy at precise angles while he synchronized the station's turrets and drones. It was risky, but it was their best chance. As the plan unfolded, the station seemed to come alive. Energy flowed through the circuits like a river, responding to Kale's pulses. Drones moved with uncanny precision, intercepting incoming ships. Turrets fired in patterns that the Vreth could not anticipate, and Kale, moving with grace and power, disabled the enemy vessels one by one. The battle raged for what felt like hours. Jax's arms ached from constant adjustments, and sweat dripped down his face. But he refused to stop. Every movement, every calculation mattered. Kyle fought beside him, wings slicing through space, claws disabling enemy systems, and energy pulses repairing damage as it occurred. Finally, after a tense standoff, the Vreth ships began to retreat. Their adaptive systems had failed to counter the unexpected combination of human ingenuity and Kale's unique abilities. Jax watched as the last enemy vessel disappeared into the void, and he allowed himself a long, exhausted breath. Kale landed gracefully in the bay, wings folding neatly along its sides. The glow in its scales dimmed slightly, a sign that the immediate threat had passed. Jax approached, placing a hand on one of the dragon's glowing scales. "We did it," he whispered. "We actually did it." The station crew emerged from their stations, faces filled with awe and relief. They had witnessed something extraordinary. A human and a dragon, working together, defeating an enemy far more powerful than either could have faced alone. For the first time, many of them saw humans not as fragile beings to be protected, but as capable, inventive, and courageous. In the aftermath of the battle, Jax began assessing the station for damage. Kale hovered nearby, occasionally releasing small pulses of energy that repaired minor malfunctions instantly. The dragon's regenerative abilities, combined with Jax's mechanical skills, had prevented any critical failures. As they worked together, Jax reflected on what had happened. The Vreth would likely return, but now he understood something vital. Strength alone was not enough. Courage, creativity, and the willingness to trust and cooperate were just as powerful. And in this partnership between human and dragon, they had discovered a force that could overcome even the most advanced enemies. Kale made a soft sound, almost a sigh, as it rested its head near Jax's shoulder. The dragon's eyes, still glowing faintly, reflected gratitude and trust. Jax smiled, feeling a deep sense of connection. They had faced a threat that should have been impossible to overcome, and they had emerged victorious not because of raw power, but because of intelligence, courage, and mutual trust. The crew began repairing the remaining damage, but the sense of awe lingered. Whispers spread quickly. The miracle of the mechanic and the dragon had changed everything. Humans could be more than just fragile beings. They could innovate, protect, and even inspire hope in the galaxy. As night fell over the station, Jax and Kale sat together in the central bay. The glow from the dragon's scales illuminated the room, casting long shadows and bathing the walls in soft light. Outside, the stars continued their silent dance, indifferent to the struggles of those small lives suspended in space. But inside, something remarkable had occurred. A human and a dragon had stood together against a powerful enemy and prevailed. The bond they shared was no longer just about survival. It was a testament to what humans could achieve when they combined intelligence, courage, and compassion. Jax reached out, touching Kale's scales once more. The warmth pulsed through him, steady and reassuring. "We've come a long way," he said softly. "But this is just the beginning. They'll come back, and we'll be ready." Kale emitted a low, melodic hum, vibrating through the station's floor. It was a sound of agreement, of trust, and of readiness. Together, they had faced the impossible and won. And together, they would face whatever came next, knowing that their bond and the miracles it produced was stronger than any enemy in the galaxy. The night was quiet, but it was a quiet filled with promise. The stars above watched silently as a mechanic and a dragon, united by trust and courage, prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. They were ready to defend each other, their home, and the fragile hope that humans could bring light to even the darkest corners of the universe. And as Jax closed his eyes, exhausted but resolute, he knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would remember this day, the day when a human and a dragon showed that miracles were possible, when intelligence, courage, and compassion came together. The war was far from over, but the bond they had forged would withstand anything, and in that bond, the impossible had already become real. The station hummed softly, its systems finally stabilizing after the attack. Jax Marlowe moved slowly through the corridors, checking panels, recalibrating damaged circuits, and making sure every automated drone and turret was ready for the next encounter. Kale hovered beside him, wings folded but glowing faintly, a constant presence of warmth and power. The bond between human and dragon had grown stronger than either could have imagined, and now it was tested in ways that went far beyond mechanics or repairs. Jax paused in the central bay, watching Kale's eyes shimmer with intelligence. "We've survived the first wave," he said quietly. "But it's not over. They'll come back. We need to be ready for anything." Kale's melodic hum filled the space around them. The dragon dipped its head, wings shifting slightly, as if responding to Jax's unspoken thoughts. It was more than trust now, it was understanding. Together, they were a force beyond what either could achieve alone. In the following days, Jax worked tirelessly. Not just repairing, but upgrading. He integrated Kale's energy pulses into the station's power grid, creating shields that were flexible, reactive, and almost alive. Each adjustment, each minor enhancement, was amplified by Kale's presence, making the station safer and more resilient. Every corner of the facility seemed to hum with life, the walls and systems resonating with the dragon's energy. But Jax didn't just work on defenses. He spent hours studying Kale, learning the patterns of the dragon's abilities, and understanding how their bond could be used to protect others. Kale's regenerative energy was astonishing, capable of repairing itself and the environment around it. Machines that had once been broken for months now repaired themselves almost instantly. Plants flourished in the hydroponics bays, and even the air seemed cleaner, more vibrant. One evening, while Jax was recalibrating an energy conduit near the docking bay, Kale made a sudden movement. Its wings extended fully, and the glow along its body intensified. Jax looked up just in time to see a new fleet emerging from the nebula, a larger, more formidable Vreth force, their ships glinting with energy weapons and adaptive shields. This was no scouting party. This was an invasion. Jax's heart pounded. He had prepared as much as he could, but the scale of this attack was unlike anything he had faced before. Yet when he looked at Kale, he felt a surge of calm determination. The dragon's eyes met his, glowing with trust and readiness. Whatever came, they would face it together. The Vreth fleet advanced, but the station was ready. Jax activated the new shields, channels of Kale's energy weaving through the barriers like living circuits. Drones swarmed. Turrets fired in synchronized patterns, and Kale unleashed bursts of energy that disabled multiple enemy vessels before they could fire. The battle was chaotic, but for the first time, Jax felt that they had a real chance. Kale moved like a living storm, wings slicing through the void, claws emitting plasma energy that tore through enemy hulls. Its regenerative aura healed minor damage in the station, and even repaired drones mid-flight. Jax coordinated the human defenses with precision, anticipating enemy maneuvers and guiding Kale's attacks. Together, they created a rhythm, a dance of strategy, and raw power that neither the Vreth nor the crew had ever seen before. Despite the chaos, Jax remained calm. His mind raced through possibilities, solutions, and contingency plans. The station had been his home for years, a place of solitude and work. But now, it was a battlefield, and he had the most extraordinary ally he could imagine. Kyle wasn't just a dragon. It was a partner, a living conduit of hope and energy. The battle escalated. A Vreth ship fired a concentrated beam directly at the central bay. Jax's heart leapt as the shields flickered under the attack. Kyle responded instantly, wings beating with incredible force, releasing a wave of energy that absorbed and redirected the beam. The station shuddered, but the walls held. The crew watched in awe, realizing that no human-made technology alone could achieve this. It was Kale, amplified by Jax's ingenuity, that was protecting them. Jax shouted over the din, giving rapid-fire instructions to the crew. Focus the drones on the left flank. Kyle, channel energy through the south conduit. The dragon responded immediately, a pulse of light racing from its body through the station's systems. The energy flowed like water, rerouting power, repairing damage, and striking the Vreth ships with precision. Hours passed in a blur of lights, sounds, and energy pulses. The Vreth advanced relentlessly, but the combination of human creativity and Kale's extraordinary abilities was overwhelming. One by one, enemy ships faltered, their systems unable to adapt to the unpredictable synergy of mind and energy. The crew, initially terrified, now fought with confidence, inspired by the miraculous cooperation between human and dragon. Finally, after a tense and grueling confrontation, the Vreth began to retreat. Their adaptive technology had failed to overcome the station's defenses and Kale's abilities. Jax watched as the last of the enemy vessels disappeared into the nebula, and a collective cheer erupted from the crew. The battle was won. Kale landed gracefully in the central bay, wings folding neatly, glowing softly. Jax approached, heart pounding with relief and awe. He placed a hand on one of Kale's shimmering scales. "We did it," he said, voice low but filled with emotion. "We actually did it." The dragon's melodic hum vibrated through the station, a sound that seemed to carry gratitude, trust, and understanding. Jax smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. This was more than survival, it was a testament to what humans could achieve when they used intelligence, courage, and compassion. In the days that followed, Jax worked alongside Kale to repair the station fully. Machines that had been heavily damaged were restored almost instantly through Kale's regenerative aura. The hydroponics bays flourished, creating a small oasis in the isolated space station. Even the crew, inspired by what they had witnessed, began contributing with renewed energy and creativity. But the true miracle was the bond between human and dragon. Kale had not only survived, it had become stronger, more aware, and more integrated with the station. Its abilities were no longer limited to self-preservation, they now extended to protecting and enhancing the lives of those around it. Jax realized that Kale represented something far greater than any weapon or tool. It was a living testament to the potential of cooperation, empathy, and trust. One evening, as Jax repaired a damaged drone near the bay, Kale hovered nearby, wings folding gently. The dragon's eyes reflected the stars beyond the station, and a low hum filled the air. Jax felt the energy pulse through him, steady and reassuring. "You've done more than survive," he said softly. "You've helped us all, Kale. You've shown us what's possible." Kale emitted a soft, melodic sound in response, tilting its head as if acknowledging his words. The station, once a lonely outpost on the edge of an uncharted nebula, had transformed into a beacon of hope. Humans who had once doubted their own worth now saw what courage, ingenuity, and compassion could achieve. Jax realized that this was only the beginning. The Vreth might return, or other dangers might arise, but they were ready. Together, human and dragon had achieved the impossible. They had defended the station, protected the crew, and demonstrated a miracle born not of raw strength alone, but of intelligence, determination, and trust. As the days passed, Jax continued to study Kale and the station. He found ways to integrate Kale's energy into systems that could sustain life, repair damage, and even enhance the environment. Plants grew faster, air systems became cleaner, and the station itself seemed to pulse with life. Kale's presence was a constant reminder that humans, even in isolation, could create miracles. The crew began to call the station a sanctuary, a place where ingenuity and courage combined with extraordinary allies could overcome any threat. Jax, once a solitary mechanic, now felt a deep sense of purpose. He had found not only a friend in Kale but a reason to believe in humanity's potential, even in the farthest reaches of space. One evening, as they both watched the nebula from the observation deck, Jax spoke quietly. "We've come a long way, Kale. From leftover scraps to defending the station. I think we've shown them what humans can do." Kale lowered its massive head in a gesture of acknowledgement, the glow in its eyes softening. The station hummed with quiet energy, the aftermath of their triumph still pulsing through its systems. Jax felt a profound sense of satisfaction. They had faced impossible odds, and together, they had succeeded. The stars beyond the observation deck twinkled silently, indifferent to the lives below. Yet Jax knew something had changed. The station, the crew, and the bond he shared with Kale were now symbols of what humans could achieve when courage, intelligence, and compassion came together. It was a miracle not born from luck, but from action, trust, and determination. As night fell over the nebula, Jax rested against a console while Kale hovered nearby. Wings folded, glowing faintly. The station was safe, the crew inspired, and the bond between human and dragon stronger than ever. Whatever challenges awaited them in the galaxy, they were ready. Together, they could face anything, and in that quiet corner of the universe, a miracle had not only occurred, it had taken root. A human and a dragon, united by trust, courage, and ingenuity, had shown that even the smallest, most underestimated beings could change the course of events. They had proven that humans could fight, survive, and create wonders in a galaxy that often doubted them. The night stretched on, calm yet filled with promise. Jax Marlowe and Kale the dragon stood side by side, ready for whatever came next. They had faced the impossible and triumphed, leaving a legacy that would ripple through the stars. And in their eyes, there was a quiet certainty. Miracles were not random. They were earned, and together, they were unstoppable.